Welcome everyone, welcome. The purpose of this demo is to show you how to use QuickLabs along with your AWS class, QuickLabs for the student, and you will receive some information from your instructor that tells you to log into a site like this, ingrammicro.quicklabs.com or aws.quicklabs.com, depending on who you're taking the class from. And after you get logged in, you'll need to enter your first name, last name, and email address, and be sure to use the email address that you registered for the class with. It should be the correct one that you registered for the class with. After you register for the class properly and you get into QuickLabs, you'll see a menu similar to this one. And on this screen, you can see that the first lab has a green dot. This means that only the first lab has been activated. The first lab has been activated because your instructor doesn't want you doing lab 3, then 1, then 2, then 6. Do the labs in order, and they will be activated usually in order, unless they decide to activate all at once. That doesn't mean they're all running. Okay, you select the first lab, and then click Open Lab, and then you will see a screen similar to this. You have Start Lab on the left, instructions in the center, and then an overview on the right. So if we go down in the lab, let's go ahead and click Start Lab. Go ahead and click Start Lab. And our purpose is to show you how to navigate in this lab. Now, when you start the lab, it's not instantaneous. It's going to take about 3 or 4 minutes for the lab to boot. As you can see, it estimates that the time remaining is 3 minutes, and that's just an estimate. So it will take 3 or 4 minutes for this to complete loading, and we'll talk while it's loading. Our objectives, all of these things are shown in the center. It says to click Start Lab. We just did that. And then it asks us to open console. You know, after we click Start Lab, you notice that we got a few more things down below here. Here's a student username and a password. And yours will be different. You'll have to have your own username and password. These are different at each startup. So at this time, I'm going to make this screen smaller. I'm going to grab the left side and make it smaller. Now, usually when I do these labs, I use 2 different monitors, but for the purpose of this recording, and for those of you that only have 1 monitor, just make this smaller on one side. This is where we are in the instructions. And then it said to open console. So we have to go back to the top and click Open Console. So Open Console is here. I'm going to click on that tab and drag downward, holding the mouse button down, and drop it right over here. And then I will size it larger to meet this other window. So we have 2 windows. One over here is the console on the left, and our instructions are on the right. So it asks us for an IAM username. This is Identity and Access Management. Identity and Access Management. So we need our username here, and this icon on the right is a copy icon. You just click that and it copies this information. Go back to the username. You can right click and paste, or just Control V and paste. Go to password and copy the password. Go back to your console and paste the password in and click Sign In. Now we can sign into the console, but we can't do anything else until the lab finishes loading. So we'll take a look at some other things here. So we've logged into the console, and this console is where you're going to create and configure and manage things in AWS. This is where you make all the magic happen. So you can see that this information is here. It still says it's got less than 1 minute to go to complete. We'll go ahead and scroll down and read a little bit of our instructions. Make this a little smaller, instructions a little bit larger. Just size it however you want to fit yours. And then we have 1 hour and 30 minutes. Usually you'll have about 30 to 45 minutes to complete this lab. The lab overview that was on the right is now below the top section. And then our objectives are here, and then start lab instructions. So our instructions are down below where they were in the center. So start lab, we've done that. We've opened the console. We've logged into the console, and the password has been entered. Now we have to wait until everything is finished loading to go any further. And our goal is just to show you how to navigate in this lab. So the web services sign in is complete. Now, the first thing they ask you to do is to go to the EC2 console. So we're in the console, but they want us to go to EC2 and then launch an instance. Now, we're not going to complete that, but we're going to show you where the EC2 console is and how you navigate to it. So we go back to the top, and if you notice, there were 3 things here, and now there's a lot more things here. So I'm going to highlight username and copy downward and get all the information right in here and right click and copy. I'm going to bring up a notepad, just type notepad and bring up notepad and paste these things in here, because if I need some of that information, I don't always want to scroll all the way to the top to get it and go back down to my instructions. So this way I'll just use this for this lab, then discard it. While we're here, one of the important things we need to check is which region our lab is in. Ours says it's in US West 2. If you look at the information provided, it's in lab region US West 2. Well, the region that our lab is in is shown at the top. Here's our student name, and here's our region. And it says we're in Oregon. And if we go down to Oregon, we see this is US West 2. So we're in the correct place. Otherwise, you might find that this doesn't work very well because all of the things that we need are not in the right place. We want to make sure we're in the correct region when we start the lab. Okay, and we can see that the time is becoming less and less. So the lab has finished loading. So we can go ahead here and do this now. We can go ahead and go to the services. Now, I could search in here for services, but I don't like to search for things manually. I just go to the search box just to the right of services and type EC2. And here is EC2, nice and easy to find. Click on it, and now we're at the EC2 console as they were telling us down in task 1. Go to task 1, and it tells us to go to the EC2 console. And then you can get to the area that you need to be in on the left. This is the navigation pane. And then close that box if you need more space. If you need to check and make sure you're in the right place or move around, you can click the 3-line icon to bring the menu back and click the X to collapse it. So we can move around like that very easily. Let's go to a different menu. For example, the S3 menu. I'm typing S3, Simple Storage Service 3, and we'll click right here on S3. And in S3, here are the items on the navigation pane in the left. We're in buckets. That's a good place for us to be. We'll close that. Let's go to something else like VPC. Type VPC and click VPC. Now you're in the VPC menu. The dashboard, you can go to your VPCs and then collapse the menu if you don't need it at this time. Sometimes you may need to make the text a little larger, so you can go up to the top and increase, or you can use your control and scroll button, and scroll button on the mouse to make things larger. Then you might need to make them smaller again so you can see a button or the next thing to click on. I have to do that quite a lot, so maybe that will help you also. So from these things, you can see how to navigate the console, and I hope you enjoyed the demo, and thank you for watching.